and online viewers from around the world. Welcome to the 2022 World Telecom Smart City Conference. The theme of this year's conference is Future Opportunities for 5G Private Networks in Smart City Applications. So ladies and gentlemen, this morning, global telecom operators will share their insights and their latest solutions in building smart city solutions and future opportunities for business collaboration. And ladies and gentlemen, to kickstart this morning's program, please help me welcome Mr. Lin Jun Shou, Director of Information Technology Industries Division, Industrial Development Bureau, Ministry of Economic Affairs. He will now deliver his welcoming remarks. Please welcome Mr. Lin.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Industrial Development Bureau, Ministry of Economic Affairs, I'm honored to welcome everyone to today's World Telecom Smart City Conference. Thank you to all guests and speakers for taking time to participate in this event. This is the ninth year that the Smart City Summit and Expo has been held in Taipei, and this year's topic is Digital Transformation Takes Smart City to New Height. Although COVID-19 pandemic has brought out social interaction, with commercialization of 5G business and vertical applications around the world, it has brought new business models such as off-site collaboration, telecommute, telemedicine, etc. And this is the theme that we focus on: future opportunities for 5G private networks in smart city applications. In this morning's session, we invite Telecom, a leading telecom operator in Brazil, in South America, and the telecom team of the Cali Municipal Government Public Utilities Bureau in Colombia to share their experience in the deployment and the operation of 5G private networks. Philippine telecommunications companies share their experience in promoting 5G deployment in cities and enterprises. South Asia's Syntel launched the world's first portable 5G platform last year to enter the market of enterprises. The Philippines established Kirk Harbor as a demonstration site for smart harbor that deserve everyone's attention. The domestic Chonghua Telecom and the Far Eastern will share the application cases of 5G-driven AR, VR, smart manufacturing, smart medical care, and smart transportation at this conference, which will also be an important highlight of today's events. 5G telecommunications holds the characteristics of the low latency, high bandwidth, and multiple connections, and can provide exclusive network channels for enterprises to use in the way of network slicing. It is the best digital transformation of today's enterprises. The vertical application of 5G networks are the hot topics of the time. Therefore, today's sharing among the telecom operators is worth looking forward to. We hope that the pandemic will be contained next year, and we look forward to welcoming your delegation to Taiwan and to the various application sites. We hope that telecom operators from all over the world will cooperate with Taiwan and find out the best solutions that we can develop together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. So that was Mr. Lane from the Industrial Development Bureau. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time we've all been waiting for, the presentation session. The first speaker this morning will be Mr. Delcio Sato, Institutional Affairs Director of Telecom Brazil. Mr. Sato was the former mayor of Ubatuba City, Brazil, and has extensive experiences in promoting smart city projects. His professional expertise includes public governance, communication, and smart city development. And ladies and gentlemen, his presentation this morning will focus on smart city development with private 5G. So please welcome Mr. Sato.
Bom dia, sou Delcio José Sato, diretor de Assuntos Institucionais da Telecom. E o tema de hoje é Cidades Inteligentes com 5G privado. Somos a Telecom Engenharia, empresa especializada em infraestrutura de telecomunicações, atuando em todo o Brasil e América Latina. A nossa empresa está preparada para instalar a infraestrutura do 5G, que é fundamental para acelerar a implantação das cidades inteligentes. Instalada no Parque Tecnológico, em São José dos Campos, o maior da América Latina, a Telecom Engenharia desenvolveu seu poste UHV, Unidade de Hardware Vertical, que é próprio para o 5G. E venho apresentar a vocês como o 5G poderá ampliar a eficiência das cidades inteligentes numa visão muito mais ampla, pensando sempre no resultado esperado pelas cidades e também pelos cidadãos. No dia 16 de março deste ano, o município de São José dos Campos recebeu o título de cidade inteligente atendendo a todos os requisitos da ABNT. Um dos fatores mais destacados é o sistema de segurança integrada considerado o melhor do Brasil. São 493 câmeras que em breve serão 1000 unidades inteligentes. Este sistema atende a várias áreas da administração, além da segurança, tais como a mobilidade urbana, saúde, educação, defesa civil, bombeiros, guarda civil municipal e polícia civil e militar. Enfim, todas as nossas polícias integradas. Até o link, visando o atendimento das necessidades de infraestrutura de recursos para a viabilidade dos programas de cidade inteligente, desenvolveu o UHV, Unidade de Hardware Vertical, que é um poste com diferenciais de segurança e flexibilidade para poder fornecer em apenas um equipamento diversos recursos, como conexão 5G, o rede LoRa para IoT, energia solar, iluminação solar, rede Wi-Fi, ponto de drones, câmeras de monitoramento, sensores, sistema de som, tomadas para carros elétricos e muito mais. A implementação do conceito da cidade inteligente tem como objetivo a qualidade de vida, gestão sustentável, governança participativa e relação com o cidadão, que só podem ser alcançados apostando em pilares estratégicos de inovação dos vários agentes, capacidade de operar entre sistemas e players, resiliências de sistemas, segurança e privacidade dos cidadãos e colaboração efetiva entre as partes. Os principais desafios não são tecnológicos, mas de gestão de mudanças e adesão dos decisores. Um exemplo foi a pandemia. Diversas mudanças como reuniões online, teleconsultas, teletrabalho, que não era uma realidade antes, por quê? Se já havia tanta tecnologia para tudo isso. A quarta revolução industrial está acelerando nosso ritmo ao mundo inteligente, que é a digitalização entre as empresas e seus pares, mundo inteligente, todas as coisas sentindo e tornando digital, todas as coisas inteligentes, Big Data, inteligência artificial e novos aplicando, na verdade, alimentando os novos aplicativos. Todas as coisas estão conectadas, Dados são online para alimentar a inteligência das máquinas de energia. O 4G muda a vida. O 5G transforma a sociedade. Roupas, acessórios, óculos, relógios, anéis, calçados, enfim, informações com sua casa inteligente. Celulares, entretenimento intensivo, saúde, educação, transporte, escritório em nuvem, indústria, comércio, serviços, agricultura, tudo conectado de forma instantânea. 5G é a fibra aérea com muito mais velocidade enviada por ondas de rádio. Uma cidade inteligente usa tecnologia da informação e comunicação para melhorar a eficiência operacional, compartilhar informações com o público e fornecer uma melhor qualidade de serviço governamental e bem-estar do cidadão. O 5G irá permitir a integração desses sistemas aos cidadãos muito mais eficiente que o atual 4G. A indústria, comércio e serviços serão enormemente impactados com a implantação do 5G, que trará uma maior confiabilidade nas conexões e uma velocidade muito superior às atuais. Futuro, o Brasil aguarda ansiosamente a implantação da rede 5G, porque sabemos que isso trará enormes avanços em todas as áreas que dependem da tecnologia da informação para o seu desenvolvimento. E como as cidades inteligentes dependem de recursos de troca de informações cada vez mais eficiente, o 5G fará com que haja um avanço ainda maior. O nosso muito obrigado.
Tellink Engineering is a company one step further in the future for a better world. We have been connecting the world, companies and you for over 20 years. We are specialized in mobile technology, providing infrastructure and network services to the largest telecommunications companies in the country. Tellink Engineering is an expert company in projects, site planning, inspection, and we also carry out audits of mobile and landline telephony towers. In 2021, a new era in telecommunications networks begins. 5G is the fifth-generation mobile network that will revolutionize the way we see the world, where people will be able to connect their homes, businesses, and even vehicles at a speed that we have never seen before. Tellink Engineering is prepared to provide all the infrastructure and services for 5G mobile companies to operate in Brazil and Latin America. In this new era, we offer infrastructure service, and we also work with the implementation and installation of technologies available by the largest manufacturers in the world. Another available service is our sharing service, which is the possibility of sharing 5G antennas with a unique infrastructure, location, and clean and renewable energy. Tellink Engineering fulfills its important role in connecting the world and offering you a way of possibilities. Tellink Engineering is one step further in the future for a better world.
We would like to thank Mr. Sato for bringing us such an excellent presentation this morning. And ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to the next presentation. The second speaker this morning will be Mr. Oscar Drone Trejos Baca, Technician of Telecom System Testing, Telecommunication Business Strategy Management Unit, Municipal Corporation of Cali, Colombia. Mr. Drone Trejos is an information science engineer with a master's degree in telematics engineering. In the recent 2 years, he has been leading the testing of the 5G development, deployment, and experimental projects for the Public Service Company of Cali Municipality, Brazil. The topic of his presentation today will be 5G technology implementation in services and applications of the Smart City Development Model in Cali, Colombia. His presentation will be simultaneously translated by his colleague, his translator, Spanish, going from Spanish into English by his translator, Teresa. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please let us put our hands together and give a very warm welcome to Mr. Oscar Drone Trejos. So, Mr. Drone Trejos, please feel free to begin your presentation whenever you're ready.
We have and this is Colombia, and we have the main port in the Pacific Ocean. Its capital is Santiago de Cali, the city where we find Cali, one of the most important cities, which is one of the most important household utilities service. Good evening. My name is Oscar René Trejos. I'm a technological project specialist in Cali. I am an ID and I coordinator. We thank you for your work and for your invitation to this future opportunities for 5G private networks, smart cities application. So it is a pleasure for us to present Cali. We are a company that renders household public services of energy, aqueduct, and sewage, in addition to telecommunications. The telecommunication component has a very infrastructure of fiber optics network in expansion. It has coverage in 6 municipalities, which have a population of over 3 million inhabitants. It has a mean of 3.5 people per household. Therefore, we have a potential of 850,000 homes. Based on the above, the figures that we show encourage us to expose the projects that are aligned to smart city projects. The main portfolio of services within the telecommunication components is we have IP, video, TV, and internet services. And Cali has a fiber optics network system with a optical interfaces of 100,000 megabytes. We have international and national outputs through the Pacific submarine cable. We have strategic area centers, data centers, implementation TRP. In Cali and the city of Cali, Colombia, thank you for your kind invitation. Among the projects of technological development in Cali, we want to develop 5G development projects. To that end, we abide by the Colombian regulations and the telecommunication ministry, and it promotes and fosters the use of 5G technology, which through the authorization of 2020 with the use of 5G spectrum, it authorizes to begin 5G pilot projects in the cities of Cali, Bogota, Medellin, Barrancabermeja, and Tolu. The 5G Cali 5G project. What are we trying to do? We want to develop a pilot project to implement 10 5G nodes to cover the center and part of the south of the city. We want to take advantage of the current infrastructure, such as the towers and fiber optics, to interconnect and to provide access. Why do we want to develop this project? The city of Cali and its municipal development plan has the objective of implementing intelligent cities. The wireless 5G provides the first bandwidth in terms of quality and capacity, with very, very fast with respect to 4G networks. In addition to that, they can connect by unit of areas to more devices than other wireless technologies. Therefore, we require a 5G technology, we need equipment, we need financial resources to put in place this project and to carry it out. The 5G Wi-Fi zones projects, what do we want to achieve? Basically, it's a telecommunication node that uses 5G and provides free Wi-Fi zones services. And so the objective areas would be rural areas, urban settlements, parks, bus stations, etc. Their characteristics would have to having an autonomous green energy system. It would be a non-cable Wi-Fi area to the central station. They would have sensors to measure variables. It's a meteorological station as well. And we have a cloud online providing information. We have a broadcasting of projects to the district community. They can implement communication and provide service. Well, it could be ambulance, police, access to police services, ambulances. And also it carries 1 to LoRaWAN. It provides an industrial design innovators to improve inside temperatures within the rack with thermal material. What are the requirements that we need? We need 5G technological equipment, training on 5G, software tools and hardware tools to manage all these platforms. We also need resources to at least have 100 wireless Wi-Fi 5G areas. The monitoring of energy networks and police surveillance with drones. What would we like to do? It is an automated hangar to take off, landing, and energy charging of drones with a control and communication system in the cloud for flight programming. It is visible from the cloud. The purpose of this event is to monitor our low tension and high tension power lines and also to do police surveillance, among other services that we could provide. Why do we want to carry out this? We don't have a preventive service for at the energy grid. We do not have a dynamic surveillance police system to allow to cover a greater area. And we have a high maintenance cost on, the cameras around the city. We have difficulties we have so many screens and so many cameras transmitting information simultaneously that it is, this would be easy to read QR codes where we can store different types of elements. So what do we need to this end? We need training for FDK services to control and monitor drones. We need precision geo-referencing technology, and we need the provision of robotic technology for control doors, electronic cards, and hangar engines, financial resources to continue the prototype development and the subsequent implementation of this project. To achieve which are these projects and are registered within we reach out to the international cooperation. We want to have technology transfer financing for updated technological projects. We would like to have participation in technical training programs, experts exchange, and of course, technical assistance. The different management areas of GTI and telecommunications of MCALI, we're moving forward to accompany the mayor's office and their innovative project for having a smart city project in Cali, making it a smart city. The innovative project for territory and sustainable cities that are intelligent, implementing technologies, governance and data analytics are part of the technological strategic projects of MCALI. The community channel, TV channel, Wi-Fi zones in public spaces, the expansion of local connectivity. Through the fiber optics, we would like to have Center for Monitoring and Integrated Management, and well, trying to prevent protocols for IPv6, and we would like to develop intelligent system ecosystems and all related services. These are our main objectives. To achieve the above, MCALI has a fiber optic ring system with all the data centers, interconnection systems, and all that is required for its implementation. And the main objective is to begin to close the social gap and encourage technological development, as well to continue contributing to the economic reactivation of the city and the region. We want to become a more sustainable, innovative, and intelligent city in rendering public utility services. Today, we are developing a cluster of the strategic allies where we're involving the Colombian academia, the private sector, the public sector, multilateral entities, diplomatic. We want to be at the avant-garde of technology to be able to provide quality of life to our citizens. In the city of Cali, we would like again, on behalf of Cali, we thank you for having invited us to this conference for Smart Cities 2022. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Mr. Oscar Drone Trejos, for joining us this morning. And we would also like to thank Teresa for her excellent translation. Now, the next speaker will be Mr. Steve Shipley, Managing Director, Airspan Networks Japan. Steve is based in Tokyo and runs the Airspan Japan operation. In his role, he supports both mobile service providers and partners and customers in the private network space in developing and executing their small cells and private network strategies. The topic of his presentation today will be 5G private networks, lessons learned. Without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Steve Shipley. Mr. Shipley, we're able to see you. However, you're not audible on the meeting platform. Can you please check if your mic is on? Mr. Shipley, your mic might be muted. Please turn on your microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some technical issues here, so please bear with us as we overcome the technical difficulties. Okay, So, Mr. Steve Shipley, we're still unable to hear you. We understand that you had just plugged in a new pair of earplugs, so perhaps you could drop them and reconnect your sound device with the platform. We're not able to get an audio feed from you. Please check your sound setting and make sure that your microphone is on. Okay. And in the worst case scenario, you could always log out of the meeting room and log in again. And that should resolve the technical issues that we're experiencing here. So ladies and gentlemen, apparently we're experiencing some technical difficulties here. We would like you to please bear with us. We do apologize that this might take a few minutes, so please bear with us. While our technicians work on overcoming the technical issues.
Hello.
We can now hear you. So Mr. Steve Shipley, are you ready? If you're ready, just feel free to start your presentation. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, I apologize for I have no idea what the issue was, but taking my AirPods out and putting them back in seems to have fixed it. So I'll start again. I apologize for the delay. My name is Steve Shipley, and I run Airspan Japan, and also I run sales in East Asia, North Asia for Airspan Networks. And today I'd like to talk from a RAN vendor perspective about our experience so far with private 5G and the lessons we've learned so far. So the first thing is, this is already a booming market. In 2021 alone, Airspan started 100 different POCs around the world focused on private 5G. Many of those were, I'll show it a little bit later, but many of those were based upon our starter kit. So we have a starter kit that is essentially a 5G network in a box, fully integrated. All you have to do is connect the cables when it's delivered and it works. And that ease of use and the ability to essentially quickly buy and implement a 5G network so that enterprises and system integrator partners, et cetera, can start to test 5G has been very important to kick off the market, not only here in Japan, Korea, Taiwan, but also in Europe and of course in the United States with CBRS. So, you know, in our experience, 5G is made for private networks. 4G, you know, we were doing private LTE projects, obviously CBRS, but also, for example, here in Japan, covering local authorities with fixed wireless access service. Also, the cable TV companies here are changing the last mile from a cabled infrastructure to wireless infrastructure. So they started using private LTE, and now they're moving to what we call here in Japan local 5G. But basically, with the ultra low latency, the big pipe that you have, also particularly in the uplink, the machine-to-machine communications, it's basically made for this market. 5G is, and in addition, we've seen, around the world, here in Japan, also Korea, is what I'm most familiar with in this part of the world, but around the world, governments are making spectrum available for these networks, and that is also helping these networks get deployed, and also it drives interest in deploying 5G, private 5G solutions, because you don't have to worry about interference issues, things like that. There's dedicated spectrum for our partners and customers to use. And then also virtualization has allowed us to more flexibly deploy, to control the total cost of ownership, but to pinpoint coverage, densification, capacity for the specific use case. And I will say that I think, and I will talk about this a little bit later, but the kinds of partners we have in 5G are typically not used to licensed radio. And so there are some challenges with bringing those partners up to speed in deploying an O-RAN or vRAN 5G solution. You know, cloud experts aren't as prevalent as they need to be. And if you're deploying a vRAN environment, for example, in Kubernetes, a containerized environment, it takes a specific set of knowledge to set the cluster up correctly. And so we're, you know, after a year of experience in running these POCs and starting to do some commercial deployments, we have realized that that's a need in the market, that our system integrator partners need a little more experience, but we're doing what we can to transfer that knowledge as best we can. Another lesson we've learned is that there's many different verticals that are interested and for which private 5G is useful. I mean, in CBRS in the States, the market has rapidly started to grow. I mean, across the board, there's deployments, you know, for rural coverage, fixed wireless access, oil and gas rigs, education, hospitals, enterprise, industrial, as written here. It's across the board, and it's because CBRS as a system is quite easy to deploy. And I think that is one of the lessons is we need to make these private 5G systems as easily deployable as possible. And then, so I kind of have air to ground and airports separate from transportation, but it's basically all the same. Transportation's a key area where a lot of activity is happening. We're doing one of the big shipping ports here in Japan, making it a smart shipping port. And to make that happen, you have to not only have a system integrator that can end the whole thing, but you have to work with the guys designing the cranes to make sure that the base stations will properly fit on the cranes and will properly communicate. The application is using 5G to upload camera video for the operator so that he can choose what video he wants to use when he needs to do some detailed work in lifting and moving the shipping containers. This was not possible in 4G. Now with the additional pipe and the uplink, the additional throughput capabilities, we are able to handle like 27 different cameras on one RTG crane, uploading all of their high definition data to the cab, the operator cab, so that, when he needs it, he can see the detailed video. So we're doing things like that. We're doing also in the transportation space in the Millbrook circuit in the UK, we're doing testing there for car-to-car communications. We're working with Qualcomm on a cellular to everything kind of connectivity, so essentially a car or even the motorized scooters will communicate not only, well, for example, the scooter, you can let the scooter go, when you're done renting it, and it will essentially drive itself to a parking spot and get ready for the next person. Cars that can talk to the infrastructure, and when there's an accident can also help to manage traffic so that first responders can get to the accident site quickly. A bunch of things like that. We're working with also for some of these applications for the shipping port opportunity, we're working with Mitsui and Sony to take the same concept of CBRS, dynamic spectrum allocation, and to cater that to non-CBRS markets where there's competing users for the same spectrum, and you need to be able to manage new entrants that might cause interference. How do you handle that? And so we're working on things like that. And also at the Bonn airport is another project we're working on where, you have a plane come in, and when it arrives at the gate, it uploads all of its data about luggage and passengers and, you know, engine performance sensors in the actual plane itself. So there's all sorts of different things we're working on, but it's still very early days. And I would say the ecosystem, we need, you know, kind of partners across the board to really bring the ecosystem to where it can be. No silver bullet. So the way Airspan has architected its software is that it can basically be chopped and changed. You can have an all-in-one unit, or you can have a completely disaggregated ORAN setup, you know, with the say architecture C with the DU on the edge, connection, a 7.2, split 7.2 connection to the RU, and then a split 2 connection back to the CU in the core center. But that same software, if you re-chop and change it, it's the same software we use in our all-in-one boxes. And basically you cater the software to the use case. If you have a very dense deployment, then you need the coordination of the DU to manage interference and to manage coordination between the RUs to give a good user experience. But then if you're deploying, say, in a very sparse outdoor, maybe rural area, all-in-one's better. You don't have a place to put the DU and the CU necessarily, and there's really less coordination necessary, so an all-in-one is appropriate. So, you know, at Airspan, we see needs all across the board, and we've architected our software so that it can, and our hardware, so that we have options for both all-in-one and you know, the disaggregated architecture. So new players in 4G, our customers and really our partners were the MNOs, the mobile network operators. For 5G, it's completely different. And as I said before, there's a lot of new entrants into this market. A lot of them maybe don't have licensed radio experience, so I'd say that's a challenge. But we have found a very strong interest in our system integrator partner, not only incorporating our solution, but in also bringing in the other pieces, the MEC providers, the RIC application providers, other smart city application providers, sensor manufacturers. They bring in the whole ecosystem and are now, you know, we're now really kind of testing the go-to-market solution with all of our various partners. So I'd say we're not quite there yet as to the exact form of say a smart factory solution, because obviously different factories have different needs. And so many different partners are focused on their area of expertise, and they bring in the ecosystem partners they need to bring the solution to market, but they need our help in understanding the radio side of it. So we try to provide that best we can. But also, you know, new in the mix, there's the server manufacturers that now are, you know, more and more interested in the whole RAN virtualization, the potential of RAN virtualization and what it can do to their business. It's a you know, essentially for them, it's a brand new market. So you know, we've seen them very engaged, the hyperscaler providers. But you know, it's not only RAN vendors, core vendors. It's also, you know, you have the device manufacturers. You have, again, the RIC providers, the MEC providers. And so we need all of these partners working together to realize kind of what the final smart city definition will look like, I believe. And then integration is king. So basically our starter kit has proved this. You know, we kind of, just a little self-promotion here. We won an award for this, but we were one of the first companies to come out with this concept of a 5G network in a box. And it really shows, the reaction we've seen shows how important it is to not have to deal with the integration issues as a partner or a customer. You just want it to work. And so by us taking responsibility for the entire end-to-end and delivering this to our customers and partners, it has made it very easy for customers to say, yes, let's go ahead and see what this 5G is all about. And I think for the next year or two, we'll have integration issues. All the vendors like us will need to make sure our software works with a certain CPU on a certain vendor's server platform. Make sure that the DUs and the RUs of multiple vendors will interwork with each other. I mean, the interfaces are defined, but the integration is not there yet. But we're working towards it. But for the time being able to provide that fully integrated experience is quite important. So the vendor side needs to lead that to make it easier for the customer side to move forward and to start testing what the potential of these 5G networks are. So that's basically my presentation. I think we see a huge potential in private 5G. We're putting a lot of strength into it, and I think we are interested in working with all partners and customers to realize the vision, and we're off to a good start. So thank you again for inviting me today, and I look forward to the rest of the presentations.
And thank you, Mr. Shipley, for sharing with us your experiences and insights. And moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we have the next speaker, Mr. Dennis Wang. Mr. Dennis Wang is the Vice President for Enterprise 5G and Cloud Product at Singtel Limited. He leads the strategy, development, and management of product and platform for 5G and cloud. Today, he will talk about unifying divergent industries and technologies for smart nation initiatives. Without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Dennis Wang.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me clearly. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here and to learn from all my industrial colleagues, as well as to share a little bit of my humble experience that I have in this topic. 5G, smart cities are all very passionate topics that I'm very interested in. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about this from an operator, from an enterprise and customer perspective. I will not be dwelling into technologies, but I will be sharing some experience that we have in helping industries, our enterprises, as well as operators, how we can implement 5G. As we all know, this is a smart city conference, and Singapore is a very small city-state nation. So for me, I'll be talking about smart nation, which actually very much, kind of appropriate for Singapore. But I will believe, it will be very useful for the rest of my audience here as well. We are here in Taiwan, but like I say, in Chinese, it's a 举一反三, which really means that one thing that we can share, and then we hope that you can learn more and you can develop yourself more things together. So I'm going to start my presentation. First, I think let's look at around the world. Urbanization is really happening very quickly. As you can see, for developed countries like Singapore, they are about 98-93% urbanized. Well, it's urbanized really means that people are really moving into the cities. And for the government, for the enterprises, there are a lot of opportunities to use technology to make what we call smarter citizens, smarter cities, smarter nations, and smarter companies. As you can see from the chart here, there are more than 50 to 100 active smart city nation projects happening globally. So this smart cities initiative has started a long time ago. It didn't start today. It didn't start 2 years ago. But however, at this point of time, when we look at all the technology available, the cloud, the AI, the data analytics, the 5G, it all comes together and share with us that this technology will come together to help us to make this smart city or smart nation dream a reality. Let's look at this. Why is this very important? I would say that we are actually started fourth industrial revolution. However, in the next 5 years, that's going to be something that's going to be leap and bound. If you look at the other kind of like industrial revolution, revolution, if I may say that. Even if you look at the second one, whereby electrification, telegram, railroads, as well as chemistry, etc., that period of time, the GDPs of some country improved by 50 to 100 times. You can see that it's a big, what we call, change to the whole world economy and bring about a bit better living standard for everyone. Similarly, right now, when we are at the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution, I believe 5G, relevant technologies that is accompanying it, is going to make it very, very important for us. But in fact, you will know that for this fourth industrial revolution, it's not just about the physical part of things, it's also the digital part of things. We are talking about digital twins. We are talking about metaverse. We are talking about end-to-end simulation. We are talking about 100% predictive future. So there will be a lot of changes. And Smart City, Smart Nation will be one of the big beneficiaries of this. In Singapore, there are already a lot of these initiatives going on. For example, the government has already dictated certain cities as a kind of a specialized digital district. We have a specialized industrial town. In fact, for Singtel, we have been working with the government to put out a 5G at Sentosa. Sentosa is an island in Singapore. The whole Sentosa island is wired up with 5G, and the government agencies, quite a fair bit of them, are working with us to deploy 5G application on the whole island, from teleoperated cars, drones, from kind of safety features, from what we call the AR, VR for tourism. All this has been in place. And all this, what do we learn? And all this, what is the difficulty that we have faced when we implement all these capabilities to introduce a smart city initiative? This is what I'm going to share. First and foremost, similarly to what Stephen Shipley has said, Mr. Shipley has said, the ecosystem is extremely important. For us to drive an outcome for a smart city, for everyone to benefit anything from the technology, the devices, the networks, the application, all must come together to generate an outcome. Just imagine today, if you want to deploy an application, a very simple, let's say, facial recognition application with AI, what do you need? As a user, firstly, you need to have the application. There are many applications out there in the market. Next, this application got to be sitting in the cloud. Then it have to be on the edge to do the immediate computation due to its low latency. And then you need the devices. At the same time, you also need the security, because anything that you do with facial recognition, you have a personal data of the person. You need the cloud, you need the network. So for a company or an agency to deploy this, they need to talk to the network. They need to talk to the infra. They need to talk to the IT application. They need to talk to the operators. They need to talk to the device ecosystem. You will see that he have to put all these things together. And that is one thing that we learn. The end-to-end orchestration must happen. If today I'm going to put in extra 5 to 10 devices, I will have to scale my cloud. I have to scale my Mac, and including my network connectivity need to be scaled as well. How do I do it seamlessly? We all know, as operators, if you are running an OT or you're running an IT network, you will realize that in order to change this, you will take a lot of coordination, a lot of meetings, a lot of forms to fill, and then you will have a weeks for orchestration. So this is one of the outcomes that we actually realize, that we actually have to have a lot of convergence and a lot of coordination. And therefore, with this, Singtel, we have came up with a platform called Paragon. I am not sharing Paragon here today, but if you are interested, please do look up our website. Please look up in the internet about Singtel Paragon. It's an orchestration platform that puts all this together, including your private network and your public network and your network as a service. So when we look at this and we took Paragon and go to the agencies, and we look at from the enterprise as well, we realize that the 5G technology can enable a lot of use cases. One of the most important thing is like, for example, a car park or even a video camera by the police. Then imagine that the video camera in the past, in order for it to have the compute, the storage, and the capabilities to do AI, the camera used to be very big. They are all custom-made cameras. They are very big, and they are very expensive. And anytime you need to do a software upgrade, there's a truck roll. Especially in countries that are big. If you have a lot of this camera out there, number one is asset cost. Number two, you are exposed to vandalism. Number three, you are going to go to do a lot of what we call truck roll to do a firmware upgrade. Now, if you imagine with 5G and the MEC, your camera can be something very cheap because all the compute, all the capabilities are actually in your Mac. Because of 5G technology of the bandwidth, the high bandwidth, the security, as well as the low latency, you can put all your compute and your application in your MEC, and your device at the end point is actually something very light. We have tested it. We have used a simple $50 IP camera, and we can do facial recognition, car plate recognition, threat detection, what we call fire detection, or even any object recognition at all using the Mac. So as we can see, 5G technology enable a lot of use cases. And 5G technology, we all know, is not just a private network, it's also for the public network. Public network brings about smart transportation, greener transportation, as well as what we call safety and efficiency. So while we were implementing this, what other problem did we actually see? You realize that in order to enable any smart city or smart nation, kind of capability, other than the solution, some other players are actually into this thing, which I mentioned earlier again and again. It's really about the whole ecosystem. And please do not forget the regulators. For any application that we try to implement, we realize that regulatory plays a big part. The handling of data, the insurance policy, the liability policies, the airspace control. You can't fly a drone any way you like it. So to get any smart city, any smart nation initiative off the ground, the support and the associations with the regulatory is a very important part. Telco, certainly we can play a very big part. We should be working very closely with the service operator. Like I say, the building, the network, the application, the infra, the cloud, devices, how can we put it all together to work on each verticals and make it happen? Why is this also a very important lesson for us? All of us who has been in this industry knows about the promise of IoT 5 to 10 years ago. And to today, IoT deployment is probably not where we want it to be. One of the biggest issue, and that even GSMA has agreed, that is the ecosystem and the disparate standards that IoT has been deploying. So hence, if we have to study together today now with 5G, starting with Smart Nation, Smart City, I think we need to be very clear about the standardization, about the device ecosystem, as well as the application and also the regulatory, what we call guidance as well. So it's the same thing. We are really talking about standards, the alliance, the technology standardization, technology interaction with each other, the APIs, the connectivities, the devices, all of this must come in together. And then you will see that all these systems and all these platforms that enables a smart city can come together. These are important elements that we can put together. But beside that, I think we need to have a mentality of what we call dare to fail or be willing to fail. Let's try it. And this is very important, especially in 5G. I'm actually very what we call aligned with what Mr. Shipley has says. People want to try it out. While Mr. Shipley has mentioned that they have the 5G in the box for Singtel, for our enterprise too, we have pushed out 5G Genie. I think we also have won a few awards in the world for 5G Genie, bringing private 5G and public 5G to the enterprise in a box so that we can actually deploy it very quickly and let people try it out. So, I'm running a little bit out of time, but I will just want to share that, what I've shared with you today is that Smart Nation or Smart City initiative needs technology. And we need to deploy technology for outcome. And technologies are really quite complex. And so we need to fuse them together. And one of the technology that really I will believe is the last piece of the puzzle for putting all these things together is 5G. They are more secure, high performance, low latency, can provide what we call a secure wireless connectivities that will ease deployment and lower the cost of devices. I mentioned earlier as well, to put all these things together, not only we need the ecosystem to be ready, all ecosystem regulatory standards must all come together for the good of openness. Open APIs, deployment, DevOps, CI/CD, AI Ops, all these are things that we need to put into place together to make sure that the deployment will be smooth and that we can deploy it quickly and adoption will go up. If for all of us here, we all know that 5G adoption is not as fast as we thought it would be. I believe with a good standardization support from the government and the industry, I would believe that we can accelerate the adoption. Finally, I would say that, for all networks and infra player, we need to have a test environment for our partners, for our enterprise to try. And that's why in Singtel, we have came up with the Paragon platform. Please check it out. We have Genie and we have a lot of test bed, and we even have a marketplace for our enterprise and our partners to download application and try, and for accreditation on the 5G network itself. I'm really glad to be here to share my experience. I hope that you guys have an enjoyable time, and I also wish the organizer a very successful event. Unfortunately, I have to drop off. I'm not able to join your panel, but I'm certainly looking forward to the next session. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Mr. Dennis Wang, for sharing with the Singapore Smart City and Smart Nation initiatives. Moving on, we have Mr. Melvin Jeffrey Chang as the next speaker. He is the Vice President and Head of Enterprise Innovations and IoT Business Development, PLDT Enterprise, Philippines. In his current role, he is responsible for innovation, strategy, practice build, offer development, and business development across next generation connectivity technology and ICT capabilities. In his presentation today, he will talk about how PLDT is shaping smart cities in the Philippines through next generation communication technologies. So without further ado, please welcome Mr. Chan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Melvin Jeffrey Chan from PLDT Enterprise. First, I would like to thank you, our host today, as well as the audience who are watching today this online and live. But before I move on to my slides, I would like to show a quick video. I call it the vision of IoT, a flavor of IoT. So hope you enjoyed that little short video.
With the hustle and bustle of the daily rush, this person finds a way to relax and disconnect. The irony of it all is that our daily lives are growing more connected than you think. Take a look at this. Here we see the freshest vegetables grown in a vertical farm, with sensors monitoring humidity, soil moisture, and acidity levels, and ensuring it to grow at the right temperature. Multiple imaging sensors monitor growth and count the number of crops for harvesting viewed through a dashboard. And we're done. Just kidding. Now it's time to pack and distribute these to stores across the city. This is IoT. It's the whole ecosystem of bringing farm to table through technology with automation and analytics. It's the whole journey of connecting production to consumption. IoT is ever present in this rapidly changing world. It goes beyond our supply chains, and we see glimpses of it in businesses of all sizes and in all walks of life. We find IoT running seamlessly in more and more surprising ways. IoT connects people. It helps us know exactly where to go. Oh, she got it delivered exactly on time. IoT is not just for one industry. Its flexibility makes it useful for limitless applications across all enterprises. We find it more and more prevalent in today's online landscape. IoT brings us all together. Our vision is to connect humanity to technology through insightful automation. And with all this connectedness, we can build with more meaning and relevance. We can find precious moments to disconnect and enjoy what is most important in our lives. IoT brings us hope and helps us propel our desire to achieve in this new normal.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm not saying that's the reality here in the Philippines right now, but at least that's our vision, a flavor of it. Before I jump into my slides, I would like to explain, my company, PLDT, and where it is. So it's actually part of the Metro Pacific conglomerate. So PLDT, Smart, and ePLDT are only the fixed, the wireless, and the ICT arms of the conglomerates. We are the largest integrated telco in the country, and together we have other arms in our conglomerates outside of telecommunication and ICT, including utilities, media, infrastructure, and health care. And all this together, alone, we cannot do everything and to achieve a smart cities, but with our sister companies in the conglomerates, we can able to do so. A quick factors of our PLDT groups. Currently, we have approximately 71 million of mobile subscriber, while with 7.6 million fixed and mobile subscribers. We have currently 10 data centers across the whole country with more than 9,000 racks or 26 megawatts of IT capabilities. We also have the largest number of 5G sites, 6,400 sites in the Philippines, supporting and providing service to our countrymen in Philippines. So the first thing I like, I always like to say, I would like you to paint a picture of the futures. For me, the pictures, it looks like, on the not so good sides, we will expect continued expansions of populations, which will lead to lack of resources, foods. The global warming will continue. And also with the pandemic, it will always keep us awake at the back of our mind. On the other hand, with technology like AI, like genome editing, it will help us in terms of improve the quality of life, also increase the life expectancies. So we'll be expecting a lot of AI, a lot of bots, a lot of data analytics, IoT in the future of our vision. And from PLDT perspective, we believe that the next generation communication, namely the 5G and IoT, will be the key components helping us achieve that visions. A while ago, if you saw the video, what I want to share the visions, it's a couple of IoT use cases. For example, precision agriculture using sensor data. It's something that we think, based on the parameters such as the temperature, the pH values of the soils, the acidity of the soils, the light intensity, the carbon saturations in the air. It will help us using the parameters to determine what's the best outcome from agriculture or crops. And then this can be connected using 5G as the connectivities. Similarly, in terms of logistic management, imagine that you want to understand it's, for example, it requires ultra low temperature storage. You want to be able to monitor what's the temperature in the cargoes, where is this right now, so how soon it can achieve, reach the next logistic points. Metaverse, I don't need to explain even more. It will enable us for collaboration, prototyping, and entertainments, even just hang out in this space. And then we understand that it can enable us through connectivity like 5G and also XR, AR, VR, MR wearables. And finally, not the least, we also took a picture to see that for using an IoT and logistic, it can help us increasing the efficiency. So before the cargo reaching the warehouse, you would know that come and fetch the goods. And once it arrives, with AGV, with the AI and digital twins, it can lead it to where it should locate their goods to increase the efficiency and lower the costs. It's truly, we believe Internet of Things is really a technology revolution of our times. We're expecting, and according to Statista, around 74 billion connected things will be achieved by 2025. That's more than 10 times of the global populations. And from IoT growing market in Philippines, we see a growth rate of 28% up to 17 million connections by 2028. Just some of the data actually we gather through our analytics companies. We see that from global IoT deployment perspective as of October 2021, total industries deployed use cases there on enterprises, there are like more than 2,000. And from that perspective, government, manufacturing, transport, logistics, and energy and utilities are the top three. So you can see a lot of smart cities deployment cases actually happening around the world. When we deep dive a little bit, exactly what kind of use case actually there are from this 2,000 data points, more than 2,000 data points, is conditional monitoring, telematics, assets tracking, and smart cities again. And from a geographical deployment, we see the most of the IoT deployments actually happening in Europe, then North America, and then Asia Pacific. And from Asia Pacific, actually, we see that a lot of them is happening in Japan, in Korea, and the greater Chinese regions, including Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. But from a Southeast Asia perspective, we can see there's a lot we can do for example, including in Philippines. And a lot, especially where I come from in Philippines, a lot of people thought that the reason of doing IoT is because of cost cutting. But actually, the data show is not. In fact, it's actually only like a remote 3 in terms of the key drivers. We see mostly it's because it wants to be improved operation efficiency and using enhanced insights for better business decision. And that's the whole purpose of IoT. Even from Philippines perspective, we foresee that around the projection values of around to 4.75 billion of US dollars in the next couple of years, or up to 6.13% of CAGRs. And then these are across IoT hardware, software, and services, including connectivities. And again, similar to what the global statistics look like, it's also energy, utilities, government, transport, logistics, and manufacturing are the four major areas that we see most of the spending is going to happen. And similarly, that's a reason that we're also focusing on areas as well. From where I come from, innovation. So that's why these are the three big things actually we're looking into for in order to develop the next generation experience. 5G as a given, it's answering the what, where, and how. From what perspective, we believe 5G standalone and private network will be leading into where the biggest technologies and trends are going to happen soon. And also from edge perspective, where we believe that the data, we see the IT companies are getting more and more investing in the IT infrastructure where the data is going to consume and produce, which is edge. And finally, we want to be able to deploy industrial IoT that can enhance smarter and hyper-connected industries and cities. However, from PLDT and Smart perspective, we didn't actually just started this journey now. We actually started this journey, way back from 2016. In fact, in 2018, we started the first 5G cities, smart cities in Philippines, and smart campus in 2019. all the way until last year. We started. We were able to test our first 5G SA calls, our video calls, and the other capability powered by 4G and 5G. And we are very proud to say that years after years, we actually are awarded by Ookla as the fastest operators in the Philippines, which even our 5G is almost 2 times the speed of our nearest competitors. And from a 5G SA network slicing, finally, unlike the 4G, which is one shoe fits all, 5G for the it can enable like network slicings, which give us like different quality of service, different SLA toward our consumers, whether you want to enable them enhanced mobile broadband for mobile devices, or you want to be able to enable the ultra low latency, ultra high reliability connectivity, for example, like V2X, V2V, which is vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to anything, or drones or video analytics or ERG and so on and so forth. And on the other hand, you can also provide high volume of IoT devices, which require very low bandwidth, low energy consumption, and high volumes. And all of this are able through 5G SA. So we believe this is the key points of how it enables us in smart cities. I think a while ago, like Stephen and Dennis mentioned a while ago, it's very important to understand IoT or in smart cities, not a single entity can address everything. So it requires a lot of ecosystem partners work together, from governments to technology provider to applications to devices to us operators. So together we can achieve a better on addressing we want to achieve in smart cities. And from a portfolio perspective, that's why currently these are the portfolio we have in PLDT of how we're addressing the smart cities. We have from connectivity perspective, we launched the first IoT platform in the Philippines, enable us to monitor all the IoT SIMs connecting to the platform, so that we can and it will be able to address multiple verticals and industries. And it can give us a very good self-care, transparency and visibilities, and controls on the IoT connections on the platforms. And from a curated solution perspective, we are also providing, for example, CCTV analytics, emergent responses, cloud push-to-talk, digital forms for governments, and smart trackers as our smart city solution to our enterprise customers in the Philippines. And together with partners, we also look into how we can help with smart manufacturing, smart workplace, utilities like waters and energies, as well as other area, for example, like mining, for example, like agriculture, smart agriculture, and so on and so forth. So this is my last slide. As I always quote it, I believe 5G and IoTs are two sides of the same coins, which enable us for more data, more devices, smart industries, immersive experience, application-sensitive network performance, and hyper connectiveness. And through this, it's our way of how we provide using next generation and connectivity to power smart cities. Having said that, I have actually one more slide, but that's okay. So yes, thank you. Thank you once again for the organizer, the 2022 World Telecom Smart City Conference, for giving a chance to share my experience here. And here is my contact. If to all those actually listening, if you would like to have a collaboration, co-innovation with us here in Philippines, please feel free to reach out. 今天也感谢大家的时间，谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Chan, for sharing with us how PLDT is shaping smart city and advancing the smart city development through telecommunication technologies in the Philippines. The next speaker will be Mr. Michael C.T. Chow, Managing Director of ICT Engineering Department, Chunghwa Telecom International Business Group, Taiwan. Mr. Chow graduated from the New York Institute of Technology with a master's degree in computer science. Prior to his current position, he was the Managing Director of Technical Service Department and the Managing Director of the OTT Office at Chunghwa Telecom. His presentation today will focus on 5G private network applications. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Michael Chow.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for your introduction. Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, I thought we don't need to wear a mask on the stage, right? But fortunately, I bring a mask with a 5G logo, so I have to replace it, okay? So we are in the 5G era. And my friend from the internet, you can see my true face just a few seconds, okay? And today I'm gonna share our experience of 5G private network application, not just in Taiwan, but also in Thailand and other places. I have three topics I would like to share with you. The first one, I'll give a very brief introduction of our company. And secondly, I'll introduce our self-developed 5G Internet A+, so-called multi-edge computing. And lastly, I'll share our use case. I'll share our 6 use case. That's the true story of how we are doing in Taiwan and overseas. So you can see Chunghwa Telecom is the largest integrated telecommunication operator in Taiwan. We are a $7.6 billion US company. And also we represent 37% of the market share in terms of 4G and 5G. And also we have 65% of internet business market share. But the most important thing is we have a R&D laboratory. Every year we spend over 100 million US dollars in this unit. Last year, we spent up to 125 million US dollars, and that gives us the advantage over the competition. Maybe you have watched the newspaper. Since January 2021, we have been undergoing the organization transformation inside our company. Now we have 3 major business units. The first one is enterprise, and the second one is consumer, and our international business unit. And also we have 3 technical support units. The first one is the data communication and the technology, and also the laboratories. Where we have over 1,700 researchers. They are very outstanding, and they develop a lot of 5G application and MEC. And we are currently operate or cooperating for about 30 submarine cable systems. And we also have 57 POPs worldwide. That altogether build up our high availability global network with a total capacity over 20 terabytes. We have set up subsidiaries in United States, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia. And this year we're going to set up a service office in Malaysia. And also you can see we cooperate with Intel and Vitel. We have a joint venture to build the IDC in Vietnam. And also, 2 years ago, we have a China Southeast Asia holding already prepared for the southbound business opportunity and the JV activities. But you can see we receive a lot of international awards. Today, I would like to emphasize on one award. Last year, we received 2021 JED Award by the Asset Research, and we are the only telecommunication company in the entire Asia to win this award. And our 5G subscriber now is reaching 1.8 million, and we are expecting to grow the base to 2.9 million by the end of this year. And based on the research from OpenSignal that was investigated between August and October 2021, Taiwan was given bronze medal in download speed, gold medal in peak download speed, and the silver medal in upload speed. So it shows you the 5G high quality in Taiwan. Well, Taiwan commercialized 5G in June 2020, and we are the 37th country in the world to launch 5G. Last year, we have built up 12,000 5G sites, and this year we're gonna add 4,000 more in Taiwan. So the 5G coverage will exceed 94% of Taiwan population in the end of this year. So according to different application requirements, you can see we have 3 types of 5G private network solution to consider. The first one is type 1, the shared edge cloud. And the second is type 2, dedicated MEC. Here we build the MEC inside the enterprise data center for low latency application. And also we have type 3, dedicated core, which we build a dedicated core network for the enterprise directory. So 5G MEC is self-developed by our laboratories. And the 5G MEC solution called the 5G Internet Intelligent A+, which is server-based and has already completed the performance verification with HP and Dell, and the other major hardware manufacturers. In addition, we also complete the 5G core and the base station integration testing with the major vendor, such as Nokia and Ericsson. And over 100 commercial customers are already using our 5G private network service in Taiwan. And there are 5 features of our 5G MEC solution. The first one is it can manage the network flexibly. And the second thing is enhance our experience and the information security. And the third thing is it can adjust the bandwidth and choose the service according to the phone number, location, and the time. And lastly, it also can grant access control to files based on the time, service, and the location. So we all know that the 5G features are high speed, low latency, and the big connection. Chunghwa Telecom provides the 5G private network, which we focus on solving the pain point of digital transformation for our customer. So we will take a close look at how 5G may be used in each of these areas. From here, I will share with you our use case of 5G application in different industries with 6 use cases. Okay, this is the first one. We work with our partner in Thailand. So this company It's a Taiwanese-based company in Thailand. And we conduct a 5G POC for them. The customer hopes to optimize the transmission quality between the OEM in Germany through 5G private network. And they also want to deploy a new wireless AGV to replace the existing AGV type. However, due to the hangover problem of Wi-Fi, AGV data transmission is often interrupted. Thailand, we cooperate with is NT. They provide the 26 gigahertz millimeter wave, and we provide the 5G MEC dongle and the MiFi and the other equipment, so that the customer can use AR collaboration very smooth. After the completion of this POC, the successful model can be adapted in other factories. This the second use case is a high-tech manufacturing company. They rank in the top 3 of laptop ODM manufacturer in the world. They were looking for a solution to optimize AOI performance and upgrade to wide coverage, high-speed wireless network in their factory. Because of 5G private network implementation, the image upload speed was dramatically improved by 5G and the increase in productivity. You can see in this chart. Before was 90, download speed was 90 megabyte, and after up to 500 megabyte. And the upload speed was 60 megabyte after implementation of 5G up to 140 megabyte. So the customer can use this 5G private network very happily, okay, and enhance their productivity very well. This is the number 3 case from semiconductor factory. You can see this ASE Technology Holding in Taiwan. It's a very successful case using our 5G private network. So in this case, we cooperate with ASE and Qualcomm. Together, we built the first ever 5G millimeter wave high-tech factory in Taiwan. Before the customer implement our solution, the customer was experiencing unstable of Wi-Fi coverage in their factory. So there are 3 major applications being used in this case. The first one is AGV and AR collaboration and the AR interactive showroom. After we build the 5G private network in the factory, the customer can use their AGV and the AR very smoothly and safely in their factory, and boost productivity and reduce the labor cost, improve machine reliability. The number 4 case is from China Steel Corporation. In this case, it's quite complicated. So our laboratory developed a certain application for China Steel. So the customer required a new network to provide internet signal for operations. In the open, because steel company, they are in the open and high temperature area. So we provide the 5G private network. It can resolve both cabling difficulty and the Wi-Fi coverage limitation. And the steel waste transportation process is very, very dangerous in the factory. So it's necessary to ensure the safety of the employee and the vehicle during transportation. So we provide the CCTV camera and use for monitoring operation which require high-speed transmission to send the real time back to the control center. And this is the beauty of our lab. Our lab provides the application of AI track foreign object detection identification system. So the occurrence of industrial safety accident is effectively reduced. And the human monitoring is also replaced by AI to reduce the labor cost. The number 5 use case is in smart healthcare. So this is the hospital of Taichung, one of the top medical centers in Taiwan. They have a lot of branch hospital around Taiwan. They require we provide the better solution to get their healthcare implemented. So we help them to build a 5G private network for medical purpose. By use of the 5G private network, the doctor in the urban area will be able to guide the doctor in the remote side of rural area, performing remote surgery with AR glasses. So the last case is in the examination center. We also cooperate with the largest financial training institution in Taiwan. They used to conduct paper-based examination. With 5G technology, we help them to connect with iPad with our 5G private network. So the agency can provide computer-based examination. They don't use a paper anymore. However, the biggest concern is the computer-based examination information security. So we use a 5G private network for security downloading question from a server to the test taker iPad. Test taker then immediately receive results upon submission of their examination. This ensures all the information is not leaked out. Okay, that's all my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Chow, for sharing with us your excellent presentation on 5G private network applications. Moving on, we have Mr. Bill Liang as our next speaker. He's the Senior Director, Enterprise and Carrier Business Unit, Far EasTone Telecommunications Taiwan. He has over 20 years of experience in telecommunication and ICT industries. His experience includes local and international business development, digital transformation, go-to-market strategy planning and execution, media content strategy, among others. He will now give a presentation on the capabilities of 5G private network, from reactive to proactive to sustainable. Please welcome Mr. Bill Liang.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Bill Liang. I'm from Far EasTone, Telecom Communication. Today, I'm very happy to see everybody on the line and also the person over the screen. Okay. In today's topic, I'm going to tell you what we think about the 5G private network and how does the 5G private network actually transform the society that we use, and then how it's actually related to the company, how we see that 5G's capability can bring to the smart city, that from those kind of reactive things to proactive, and then moving on to the sustainability of the futures. Okay, that always the possibility of the technical things that we cannot get my slides out, right? Okay. So before my slides comes out, probably I can talk a little bit about my company. Okay, here it comes. Okay. In 5G, we think it actually enhances the interconnectivity, security, and experience over the whole smart cities. In the smart city, we talk about different kinds of the industrial verticals, from the health, from the farming, from the smart buildings, from the education center. So we can see a lot of different kinds of things interconnect with each other. But prior to the 5G, are we doing any interworking slightly different than today? Well, yes and no, because what we see today is that 5G gives us a more capability and enhancement that connect us to all different kinds of the service that we used to be a silo service. Nowadays, we can interworking. So taking an example, there's a farm dairies that the cow is producing the milk. In a way, previously, all the logistics between the farm, the production line, the milk factories, and even down to the logistics, and the end we go to a supermarket. All these chains are sort of interbreaking or slightly locked in. But throughout the 5G, we can see a very close loop that we can connect everything together. So if there's a certain things happen in one of the link, then we can actually inform the various links down the track. So for example, if a cow is producing less milk, so we can ask the dairy factory to have a better to do something differently in terms of the production services. So maybe a reduction line, or we can get more supply from the other dairy farmers. At the end, we can ensure a proper stock over in the supermarket. So you and me can still buy the milk without a doubt. So taking a recent example, we are shortage on the egg itself. So these things, if it's happening with 5G dairy farm or the chicken farm, then we probably have a better egg production than nowadays, okay? In a way, Far EasTone Fiber Network is supporting various industrial and various verticals in Taiwan. The most important thing is a smart city. In Far EasTone, we actually support Taoyuan City to light up all the citizens with their smart lighting. We actually control more than 80K of the smart lighting that we can actually use AI technology to see if there's a cloud gathering or if there's a cars coming. If there's a less cloud or less cars coming, we can actually dim the light to reduce the energy consumption. In other words, we are actually have a very close loop with the 5G and AI that we can link everything together to achieve a better energy consumption. We can do a better society reduction in the carbon direction. Okay. Then the next thing is to also talk about the ITS. Everybody is talking about how we actually have autonomous driving, or we can see a different kind of logistic. So we also have a very inclusive ITS solution that we can show you later. Of course, healthcare is another big thing. Even in Taiwan, with all the very advanced technology in some of the medical, so still the resources between the urban city, CBD, and also the rural area are slightly different. In rural area, you are very hard to get those kind of specialized services. For example, your eye doctor, or your bone doctor, or even a skin doctor. Those kind of different kind of specialists, we trying to minimize the gap between the rural area, city area, and the urban area. So we are actually using the 5G technology to bring those kind of specialized service to the people who have a difficulty to travel, or the distance from the home to the hospital is very far. So our slogan is to use the network to replace the road to make your healthcare easier for you, okay? Of course, smart manufacturing is very important. More than 1/3 of the Taiwan's GDP are contributed by those manufacturing in Taiwan. So we are actually very humble to work with some of those kind of high-tech companies, such as MediaTek, and also those kind of different companies that can produce from silicon chip to all the way to the end product that you and me use daily, that we support different kind of manufacturing, trying to use 5G to enhance their daily operation, try to boost the security in data in terms of like from preventing from the hackers. So those kind of things, the 5G will allow them to have a better of the Internet of Things connectivity, supporting them to reach a better Industrial 4.0 production, the flexible production. So in a way, let's do it. Okay, in terms of flexible manufacturing of the enabled 5G, we are no longer just talking about what is in the production line. We are more or less talking about the overall operation of the company, starting from the outside environment, all the factory floor operation, in terms of like security, in terms of like the computer vision, that we can actually have like a geofencing. For example, if a certain people breach the wall, flip over, or they have our worker is walking down the road and have suddenly a fatal accident or something like that. All those kind of things in the past is passive things, okay? We only know when the things happen. Throughout the technology of 5G, we're trying to implement the real-time activity. We can do user behavior analytic. We can track the user behavior. If a falling situation happen or those kind of uncertain things happen, we can actually inform the authority to respond at the first stage, okay? And then also in the factory floor itself, we can use a lot of robotic things. However, robotic things are cold. We are trying to use 5G to bring more of the human touch to the robotics, AGV, those kind of things. So we can actually interact with them. They will become, we always think a machine is cold. We try not to get too close to them. But in reality, we need to get in touch with them. We are working with them close side by side. Okay, so there's a lot of things really happening down with the factory floor. So we're using 5G technology to overcome those kind of things, okay? Of course, in most important thing, the smart city, we are talking about all the citizens that daily encounters a lot of things, the traffic. So in terms of things, we do a lot of the intelligence of the transportation, in terms of the signage, in terms of traffic lights, in terms of the logistics, how is the things. And then also we have a lot of different kinds of requirements for the parkings, and also have the different kinds of the, sorry, okay, let me step over, okay. Of course, there's a lot of sharing economy that we need to work with different kinds of things. And we try to use different kind of connectivity to bring up to those kind of shared economy. For example, we are supporting the iRent, one of the biggest car rental service in Taiwan, that we actually support them with the connectivity itself. But however, there's a lot of requirements that if there's a car crash accident, how do you actually inform the insurance at the first stage? So we can actually support them with different kind of video transmission that they can actually record it, they can send it to the insurance, those kind of things. So car insurance, also this is very important. Also the public transportation is another big thing. How can we actually reduce the requirement of the human, but we introduce more the autonomous things. In terms of a CV2X, how do we actually bring the roadside unit into the thing? So fundamentally, how do we actually use the 5G private network or the so-called different kind of connectivity wireless solution to support this kind of technology things that we trying to boost out the platform in order to do the payment term, transaction, energy management, everything can be linked together. So in the society, in the platform, it's no longer those kind of silo platform. We're trying to bring everything together. Okay, so this is one of the example we take in the so-called urban transportation smart. We're actually working with the Taipei City government and one of the smart autonomous driving vehicle itself. Due to the regulation, we can only allow this bus to run at midnight, which all the buses are being closed, okay, no longer in service, which means less people on the road, less traffic on the road. So that's due to regulation. So we will have one person sitting in, one driver sitting in the autonomous bus is keep on driving. So a lot of people call it the ghost bus because it only runs in the night, okay? So we actually put up the roadside unit in different kind of poles. There's a traffic light, there's a video camera I'm trying to capture, because we need to understand, is there any pedestrian, is there any vehicle coming into the junction? If there is, we can actually send the information to the autonomous bus. They can get the information earlier, trying to avoid any collision, and then actually by getting more information from the traffic light CV2X, they can brake more smoothly and earlier to avoid any kind of sudden emergency brake, which will bring a better experience to the passengers inside the bus. As in, like, we don't like the driver who just drive very brutally and harsh, right? So all this technology is using the 5G technology to connect it up. And we also use a private network because all this data should be very responsive and all the data transmission should be quite securely controlled, because we don't want people to tamper with the data. And also a lot of times sharing the data channel with the public is not a very proper way. So we use a private network to do it. So the next stage could be also using the standalone slicing, which will actually help the city more, as in like a lot of different kind of network can be sliced to adapt it to different kind of a requirement. Under those circumstances, we probably can have one slice for the fire department, one slice for the police department. So while they are even in the same area, they will not hijack each other's resources. They can still operate quite independently and freely to achieve what they do. Okay. So this is one of the CVAI that we are trying to work with the city government, because in Taiwan or throughout the world, I believe there's a lot of driver who sometimes is just carelessly doing some illegal things. But a lot of times, people are doing out of the inconvenience, out of his convenience. So we can see, we actually we put a CVAI in a park. So this park is actually in one of the area that the road used to be a railroad. So the city government re-ramp into and redecorate into a very beautiful park. But the resident in a closed area, they used to ride their motorcycle over this road. So even when the city government revamp and redecorate this road into a very beautiful park that they don't allow the motorcycle to go in, but while you give a warning, doesn't work. Okay, but people just like going past over. So the city will say, how can you help me? So we actually talk to the city government and we say, let's put out a camera and use the real-time responses. So all this camera will actually take the photo then of the motorcycle. And then after we deploy this situation, we can see a dramatic decrease of the people who break the law. About only like 10% is breaking the law nowadays. So I think it's a very great way to do a prevention of people from doing the bad things. And also illegal line changing, that's also a very harsh traffic law violation. Because a lot of time, if you're trying to hijack the lane from the buses or those kind of public transportation, then it's not a very good way. So we actually reduce a lot of the accidents or the count of the over lane changing. And also in this picture, we can see that if you are driving into a left turn corner only, then if you're trying to go straight, So these things that we can actually use a CVAI, the computer vision, trying to avoid those kind of situations from happening, so the people will not try to break the law. So, well, the law is always the last standing resource we're trying to work. But overusing this, we can actually help the people to understand how can actually better drive, not to do certain things. Okay. The other thing is, Firestone Group actually has a lot of healthcare resources as well. So we are actually providing a SaaS services that we can actually build out different kind of 5G base station in terms of the city area and also the residential area. Also a lot of places in the rural area that people are going to there for usually for a general prescription. However, if there's certain things happening that they require a treatment, such as an eye treatment, a specialized bone treatment, they can actually use our 5G interworking. They can connect to the city hospital directly. So that means all the information, even for example, the prescription, all the screening, they can do a doctor-to-doctor discussion, those kind of medical services. So in this way, we are actually helping the city, trying to expand his reach and reduce the difficulties of people from getting into receiving the proper diagnostic. So overall, we are actually shaping the medical services, trying to help them to deliver more services to the more people required in different areas. So taking example in this kind of a COVID things, if everybody's got, we do see a lot of those kind of disease reports getting less. Well, we don't believe it's actually those sickness are going away, but more or less is people are afraid to go to the hospital. So if they cannot go to the hospital, they cannot do a proper check. So for those kind of long-term diagnostic or disabled people, it's very hard for them to get those kind of diagnostic. So using a 5G technology, even in the residential, we can actually support them with those kind of virtual diagnostic services. So in this way, the people can still get their proper treatment without leaving the home. So I think it's very important for the smart city to have this kind of services that it can actually address to more residents. Okay, so this is a final slide. I would like to say is that the network itself is a very ecosystem readiness. We, for example, we are working with different kind of vendor in terms of the, like for example, smart cities, manufacturing, and also the healthcare. By working with a different kind of our enterprise customer, we can actually support them to have a different kind of feedback loop. So we are trying to play a matchmaking type of a role. We're supporting, for taking example, while the chipset maker, they are trying to come up with a new feature to support different kind of application. So we are taking their requirement into and talk to with our actual service provider, such as like, for example, smart warehouse OT. So smart warehouse will have a different kind of requirements. It's like how this thing best used in my territory, in my band. So we'll use this kind of different kind of information, trying to link up with them. So a lot of things, while we providing a private network as a service, but actually we are helping ourselves and also the society to transform. Previously, we are all very reactive. You only report what you see when it's happened. Okay, so it's a very passive thing. It's still much of those kind of support focus. Actually, we are moving towards the proactive. We are very focused on what is the customer demanding, what the customer require nowadays. How can we actually support them to resolve their problem? But in order to achieve a long-term service, is sustainability. We really need to grow with our customers to understand. We need to take a step further into the future that we can tell them and work with them. how is the best thing coming up? This is in your business scope. So this way, we can actually support the city to move to the next stage. How can we actually have a better energy management? How do we actually reduce carbon emission? How do we actually bring a better service or better experience to the people in the city itself? So I'm very happy that the 5G is actually supporting different kind of visibility into the different verticals that we can hopefully using this to shape a better smart city in the way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Liang, for your presentation on the capabilities and the potential of private 5G networks. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the next item on today's agenda, which is the panel discussion. So please remain in your seat. For those of you joining us in person, we would take a very short break. However, we would like to ask all of you to please remain in your seat as our staff rearrange the setting, the venue setting for the panel discussion. And for those of you joining us online, particularly the keynote speakers and the panelists joining the discussion here in a minute, please make sure you remain online and stay connected. The panel discussion will begin momentarily. So please bear with us. This will only take a couple of minutes.
Thank you, everybody, for staying with us for this session.
And for members of the audience joining us in person and those of you joining us online, we thank you for your patience as our technicians work on overcoming the technical issues as we try to connect with the online platform. Okay, and we are ready to go live. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the panel discussion. The panel will be moderated by Dr. Shouyan Cho, Distinguished Professor and Director of the Center for Internet of Things Innovation, National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. Joining us on the panel discussion will be all the presenters and speakers who have given their presentation in the morning. I will now turn the program to the moderator, Dr. Cho.
Okay, thank you again for staying with us for this session. This morning we had quite a few excellent talks from different representatives from different countries, bring us all over the world, knowing the status of 5G private network deployment and applications. I think for the following 30 to 40 minutes, because their presentation, because of time limit, they weren't able to give very detailed discussion on specific issues. So we are going to give them opportunity to elaborate, even though some of the applications you have mentioned, but if you feel that you are you have more insight on those applications, please do share with us. And I think during this pandemic and after pandemic, there are a lot of new issues coming out that we need to address under the scope of smart cities. So if you have any other insight, I will also appreciate that you can share with us. And since our scope of this session is about future opportunities in 5G private network. So if there are applications which can be improved or enabled with 5G private network, I will also like you to share. So maybe we'll start with, my understanding is Mr. Oscar Rene Trajos may not be able to join us online, but he is online, but in case of potential technical difficulty, so we'll just have 4 panelists join the discussion. If I'm wrong, maybe Oscar, you could let me know. So we'll start with Mr. Steve Shibley. In your presentation, you mentioned about the lesson learned from the vendor side for the deployment side, and you also lightly touched upon some applications such as motorcycle cases. And maybe you would like to share with us more applications that you have encountered either in the US. I understand that you are from Texas and also in Japan. Steve?
You know, I
Hello?
guess hello? Can you not hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think, you know, for as far as applications, I mean, a lot of what we're doing right now is focused on smart factories. And as I mentioned, transportation, also a lot of fixed wireless access. And then some companies are starting to trial private 5G in the enterprise. So I think, you know, over time, right now, I think, you know, from a RAN vendor's perspective, you know, if we build the network, the applications will come is kind of how I like to think about it. Right now, I think there's a lot of ideas and there's a lot of companies that are trying to make the ideas reality. But right now, the key killer app is for example, uplink throughput. A lot of the, you know, even the factory applications and the shipping port application that I mentioned, it focuses heavily on, you know, monitoring videos being uploaded via 5G to a central monitoring station or an operator's booth, you know, a remote operator's booth, something like that. So, you know, there are the beginnings of those kinds of projects. You know, the project we're working on with Qualcomm with the, you know, the connected vehicles to everything, where the, you know, the scooters will, you know, they'll go park themselves after you use them so that, you know, I don't know if any of you have been to San Francisco, but if you rent a scooter there, I mean, the scooters are all over their place. They're left just out on the sidewalk and, you know, kind of it's very inconvenient for the next user. So, you know, if they go park themselves and get ready for the next user, those kinds of things we're working on, you know, kind of pilot projects, POC level kinds of stuff. I really think, I believe it was Dennis that may have touched on it, but once kind of network slicing is a tried and tested reality, I think and you can implement an SLA for a specific application. I think the applications will start to flourish. You in 4G you had it was a downlink centric kind of view of the world, but it was more bandwidth than previously was had, and so as a result, all of these and of course platforms like the iPhone, iOS, and Android, made it easy for app developers to come out and for apps like Uber to flourish. I think 5G is going to be more about connecting devices, and so it's I believe it's going to heavily depend on what kind of devices become available. I think also kind of the direction that it takes is and I believe Dennis may have mentioned this as well. Regulation is going to play a key role. So densification is a key issue in 5G and in smart cities, and so right now the regulatory framework is not there in every single country. So getting that in place is necessary to have the platform there so that some of these interesting applications start to be developed. I could talk more about some of what we're doing, but unfortunately I can't. It's not something I can talk about publicly. So for now, I'll leave my comments to that.
No, that was excellent. I think later when we talk about the challenge, you can come back to this point. But for sure, I think motorcycle case is even more relevant to the situation in Taiwan. If the motorcycle can park themselves, maybe even drive themselves, then it would be excellent.
I also wanted to just mention, there's I think a Deloitte Touche study that basically said, once particularly vehicles and infrastructure can talk to each other, and for example, like I said earlier, if you have an accident and the first responders, you clear the roads for the first responders and all that. I mean, I think there was a study that showed that these kinds of smart technologies deployed in cities can, for example, reduce crime by 30 to 40%, or enable 20 to 35% faster response times in emergency services. So it's kind of, it starts with a simple test, but the impact once you actually realize the vision can be very huge.
Okay, thank you. Melvin, when I was reading your bio, I was so impressed by the kind of activity you were engaging in. You were dealing with next generation connectivity technology, including almost all kinds of communication technology, also ICT capabilities, from data center all the way to AI, machine learning, data analytics, blockchain, and so on. And during your presentation, you also had a very excellent presentation and very comprehensive coverage. One specific point I was very interested in is about next generation experiences. Could you elaborate or enlighten us on this aspect?
Okay, sure, absolutely. Thank you for that questions. Well, when we talk about next generation experience, right? So far, what people are expecting, the evolution from 1G, 2G, 3G, 4Gs are mostly consumers, right? So 5G is finally the first time that we truly enable even in the enterprise, like what Steven mentioned a while ago. Like I mentioned a while ago as well, it's with the 5G SA standalone that the network slicing is truly be able to dedicate like different bandwidth to different applications. For example, when we're talking about XR, imagine just watching a concerts with your VR glasses. It requires a lot of high on your glasses. Or when we're talking about metaverse, how you collaborate, how you do entertain, how you're going to work together in that experience. Those are the experience that actually even 5-10 years ago you wouldn't imagine. You'll be only seeing it in the Minority Report, like in movies. But right now, for sure, with the AR capability, it's a reality. So those are the next generation experience I'm talking about. Even another example, it's a remote surgeries. just thinking about having a robot actually doing surgery instead of a person, and a doctor, maybe remotely on the different continents, be doing the instruction. Because for medicines, it's very important, or even just consultations. So far, it's always about reading, reading the pulse, the symptoms, everything. But very important is about haptic. The feedback coming back to, so that the doctors remotely will be able to understand if there's a plum, if there is something abnormality, they will feel it. And in order to do so, it requires very, very high bandwidth requirements and low latency. So those are the new generation experience I'm talking about that you wouldn't imagine like 5-10 years ago.
Right. I think in order to get this undisrupted experiences, you have to have wireless communication technology rather than sitting on a desk or on a chair and watching digital world. I think that's very true. Okay, so let's move to Mr. Michael Cho. Although you talk about, you have spent a lot of time describing the excellent infrastructure and the deployment of the application, 6 application that Chunghwa Telecom has deployed excellently. Can you also try to elaborate some of them in greater depth?
Okay, thank you, Professor Chow. Okay, I think you listen my presentation. My presentation is focused on 5G private network. Why we say 5G private network? In the era of 3G, there's nobody say about private with 3 or 4G. Because 3G and 4G, usually they are focused on the general subscribers. They are not focused on the industry purpose. But in this session, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 mobile operators join this session. We are taking a lot of responsibility to push 5G private network going on. Because without 5G network infrastructure, we couldn't move our industry 4.0 going on and on. But there are 4 elements of 5G private network. The first one, of course, 5G network. And the second thing is, as I have mentioned in my presentation, MEC. Edge computing is the main purpose of 5G private network. Certainly, we need enough, and diversity applications. And the last one is device. The major feature of 5G network is low latency, big connection, and high speed. So the big connection is realized by the device. In Taiwan, we have many successful manufacturers. We develop a lot good device, dongle, Wi-Fi, and AGV, AR, VR. So we can use this device with our application. Definite, you need MEC. Otherwise, you couldn't provide low latency application. Okay, I think that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm very happy that we have 2 excellent Taiwanese telecom companies joining this session. I would like to follow up with Bill of Far East Tone. Particularly on the application, you mentioned a lot of application in greater detail. Excellent presentation. And I also would like to have your opinions on whether or not you foresee any other application that can be enabled by 5G or 5G private network?
Okay. Thank you, Joe, for the good question. As far as during our engagement with our client and even with different kind of with our competitors or other players, we do see a lot of people they actually sometimes afraid to talk about what is 5G, because 5G to them is quite new. And they have the tendency is like, is this new thing really suitable for me? So, but that's only also the beauty of 5G, because the 5G actually decouples a lot of things. It's a fundamentally change in terms of architecture, as what my industrial colleagues like Dr. Joe says. I say, when we decouple the service, that allows the different kinds of opportunity to drill down to the different verticals. In 3G or 4G, people, so-called industrial, the IT people, they cannot see, they cannot touch the mobile or the licensed radio data. They don't know how to handle it because it's never going through their network. They cannot do monitoring, those kind of things. So after we bring the 5G private network into the spaces of their into their premises, they suddenly realize that through the local breakout or through the 5G different kind of setup, all those data can be monitored or can directly fit into their existing network. They become comfortable about using this kind of licensed radio technology to replace their intranet services. After they realize this can be done, there's a lot of potential that can be driven down to use. For example, taking an example, previously when they're doing those kind of video conference, they're afraid that all the file sharing, all the video contents will be somewhere hijacked in the Internet of the Things. But if we use the MEC that doing the local breakout, so using the data that then is manageable and controllable, so which means a lot of existing user, they will stick to habits like, I'm still using my intranet. With this kind of concept drill down to their mindset, they will be looking forward into drive different kind of new opportunities. So we do see a lot of potential in terms of data usage and data sharing amongst those kind of existing siloed application. Taking an example, AGV previously, they cannot take the lift because they are using a Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi doing the AP transaction, the connection is not smooth. But nowadays, we can actually use the AGV that can take the lift itself using a 5G private network to help them to connect. They can even open the door, they can cross a different segment. So, for example, during the convec, a lot of factories that are using AGV to transport or to use the logistics, to place the logistics itself, because people cannot connect with each other. So it's a touchless economies. So I think the 5G private network really will enhance a lot of those kind of touchless economy. And a lot of applications, that's why we're doing a lot of startup. They have a lot of ideas trying to enhance those kind of touchless economies. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's very true. I think just as earlier, what Steve said about for different use cases, we may need to have different architecture of the 5G private network. By understanding the application better, finding the pain point or the critical issues, then we may be able to bridge the application with the technology much better. So we do look forward to more application being enabled with 5G network. Let's move on to the second issues, which is also very relevant. That is about the challenges. I think we have 5G network for some time. I think a lot of issues that Steve shared was about the lesson learned. We need to educate our partners and bring them up to speed, and it takes time, and we need to understand the application and so on. I can also see in terms of smart city applications, there were a lot of so-called proof of concept project being deployed. But will we be able to move to proof of service or even proof of business? What kind of challenges that we are facing? I think at least we have regulatory issues addressed by many of the speakers, and there were integration standard issue addressed by different speakers. Maybe we can elaborate on this issue and maybe propose some potential resolution. Maybe if I may, I would ask Melvin to start. I understand that he is under the constraint of time. Melvin? Can you start?
Sure. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes, talking about challenges is actually a very good point. In fact, when we're talking about 5G private networks, right? Unlike a lot of Western countries like Netherlands and Germany, US, Japan, which there's dedicated spectrums for enterprise industry. Here in Philippines, we still need to realize through the existing spectrum assigned or bought by the operator. So having said that, how do we efficiently, having the engagement with the business, the enterprise, and understand the requirements, and then we do our proper plannings using those spectrum. That's one challenges. And the other challenge we think of, it's in fact IoT and 5G is a relatively new concept in this country. To the point that when I was having a discussion, a lot of people who doesn't even understand what's IoT or never heard of it. So we need to channel thought leadership, educate them, and finally find an angle that we can co-innovate together. I think there's a third challenge is actually the devices, because in the end it's a huge ecosystem. So from telco perspective, we work with infrastructure providers to build up the infrastructure. But when a lot of the modular devices are not available out there, for instance, like the 5G modules for enterprises, they're actually not quite available yet, even from a massive type communications. So those need to catch up, and you need to take some time for those price of the modules and devices to come down, so the mass it can enable a massive adoption. So those are three angles I actually see for the challenges, and we need to work together either with authority, with our partners, or with the whole ecosystem in general. So those are my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Taiwan is facing probably similar issues on spectrum. And also, I think I was involved in some 5G deployment project, and I also had some issue with the devices. So thank you. So let's move to Steve. Earlier in your presentation, you mentioned that in this new area or new opportunities, there are also new partners joining the system. So we understand that it is not just a single company's issue, and there's this ecosystem, there's a supply chain, or maybe as Bill said, it's about the verticals. So how can such kind of integration be done by say your company or telecoms or what other mechanism that can help us to overcome this disparity?
Longest to resolve. Sorry. Hello, can you hear me now? No.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I think integration is going to be the issue that takes the longest to resolve. I mean, we as a software provider, not only software, but primarily the dependencies are in software. As a software provider for for a RAN solution, particularly a vRAN solution, we have to make sure our software works on all of the server hardware platforms, make sure that the NICs, the network interface cards that are used, support what we're doing and support the throughput speeds we're trying to generate. We have to make sure that we support the FEC accelerator cards, not to mention, you know, the RIC interface and supporting mobile edge computing type applications, et cetera. I mean, it's mind-boggling how much work we have to do to validate that our software works on certain platforms so that our customers, partners and customers have a good experience. Many of you probably know that we are involved in the ROC-10 network deployment. And so we've been working on that, 3 years or something. And, you know, there's 5 radio vendors all using kind of a common software platform that is not controlled by the vendors themselves. Maybe part is, but part's also provided by another software provider. And the complexity of the integration and everything that we've had to go through to do that deployment has given us a lot of knowledge that we didn't have before. And so what we need to do now is to export that knowledge and reuse it and you know, take what we've learned on how those integrations work and what those partnerships look like, and then taking it out into our other experiences and also having it inform how we run our software integration programs and how we prepare our platform for kind of whatever next generation chips are coming, et cetera. It's very complex. It's extremely important. And the only way I think to do it is through experience, like in ROC-10, and through time and effort, and just a willingness on all the parties in the ecosystem to see the value in connecting with each other and making that connectivity easier, making essentially the challenge is to make the end-to-end experience a true plug-and-play experience, which it's not right now. So I don't think there's any real recipe for it other than time, effort, and cooperation. And so I think it's extremely important, but I do think we're headed in the right direction. And I do think that in 2 or 3 years' time, this integration issue will hopefully be knocked on the head. We will have solved it and everything will be much easier to deploy. And as a result, the pace with which these networks are deployed will rapidly increase, I believe.
Okay, thank you. I think at least your company is taking the first step by providing this in-the-box solution to simplify some issues. Thank you.
Yeah, that helps in the short term. Longer term, it's a lot more complex.
Yes, definitely. Thanks. So let's turn to local telecom companies. I think from the telecom's perspective, how can you help from your perspective, your strengths? Chunghwa Telecom, you have research organization, you have a very comprehensive coverage of the service in Taiwan. So how do you think that it can help to make this environment more suitable for applications?
Okay, thank you. The challenge we are facing now is a mobile operator. There are 3 major challenges. In the past 2 years, we summarize into the following 3. The first one is, how do you sell your service? And the second one is, how do you meet the requirements from the customer? And the last is, how do you complete the service of 5G private network? For the enterprise customer, they treat telecom operator just like a telecommunication operator. But we are not just a telecom operator anymore. We are an ICT company. We provide the total solution from very beginning to the end. That means from cloud to the ground, or you can say from the sky to the sea. Everything you name it, we can provide. In this 5G private network service, we can provide not 5G network. So we provide the 5G network with MEC and the application and the devices together. But you know, we receive a lot different requirement, not just in Taiwan. You know, I have introduced one case in Thailand. They are all different, especially in the factory. They have their own application. They have their own server. So how do you handle it? If you don't have enough, you know, development team with you, it's very, very hard to solve the problem of the low latency they require for the 5G private network. And the last thing, how do we complete it? Well, that's another headache for all the mobile operators, okay? And you know, the coverage of 5G in the factory is affected by different cases. So our engineer and the technician spends a lot of time to debug it, to find the problem. And we have our own management system and the troubleshooting you know, platform. So that's why we can you know, solve all the problems from our customer. Now please don't say we are a telecommunication operator. We are an ICT company. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's very true. I think even from Melvin, he was also describing his company as a company which integrate ICT technology as well. So let's move to Bill of Far East Tone. I think earlier you mentioned about the verticals. You also mentioned about your approach for being more proactive, going upstream or downstream, trying to bridge them. I'm wondering if there's anything else you want to add to this. I think it was a very effective way, understanding the needs from the end customers and helping upstream vendors to improve on their products so that you are fixing the problem of the verticals, the supply chain, rather than just fixing the problem from your parts down to the customer.
Yep.
Can you elaborate? Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for a great question. As what Dennis or the Melvin has indicated out, that throughout this transformation, we actually are trying to grow with a digital transformation, supporting our end client to work this journey. While working with this journey, we actually find there's a challenge from both sides. To our customer, it's like, how do they actually justify the ROI? How do they actually justify 5G or 5G private network is a really good thing to them? They know it's good, but how much are they willing to pay? How much is the right price to pay? This is always the right question and brutal question that we need to understand. And compared to us, how can an operator be ready to support this kind of changes, adaptation required by the customer? The customer has very different kind of variation. They have different kind of the question, the pain point they need to address. So the approach taken by us is like, as what I say, is that we are actually a facilitator of this kind of ecosystem. We encounter different kind of a business, taking from the approach that how can we actually elaborate or enhance the customer pain point to the upstream cases, so that taking example that the chip maker can actually understand the requirement, for example, what does the AGV needs? Does the AGV needs a different kind of chipset power consumption than the normal user? Probably no. So how can they actually design a chipset better for different kind of verticals? So this is a traditional question that chipset maker probably is very hard to get in touch with, because they will not interview every vertical and say, can you tell me what is your vertical required? So with 5G, it brings up those kind of diversified. So we can actually, from the telco perspective, we are in a very good position, as our colleague says. We are no longer just a normal telecom company. We are supporting our customer to work down the digital transformation journey. So we are able to translate, or actually to bring those first line message, first line pain point into different stage of the so-called value chain down the track. So by providing a proper information to the OTSI, they understand what is our final customer needs. The OTSI, while building up their component, they're building the jigsaw puzzle for their end service, they trying to find the best puzzle to put in, like what is the best Wi-Fi router, what is the best 5G router, how do I use it for the Internet of Things, how do I actually use different kind of data. And up top of string is like how do we actually bring those information to the chip maker, to those kind of things. All this streamline will actually support the whole vertical process in terms of get more efficient, and then all the so-called problem feedback loop will be better. So in the terms, we hope to energize this kind of whole life cycle management for not just their product only, but in terms from the product into the service type of the life tracking feedback loop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think your point is very similar to what Michael said, that telecoms are no longer just telecommunication companies. You need to provide more comprehensive services, be more proactive. I think our manufacturing industry has been doing similar things, going gradually upstream from like OEM to ODM to OBM and so on. We look forward to seeing the evolution of the telecoms. Okay, in the interest of time, I think unless any of the panelists have anything to add to, Steve? Okay, if not, so again, thank you very much for participating this session and staying with us until this time. I think we had excellent presentation addressing application issues in different countries from Brazil, Colombia, maybe Japan, US, Singapore, Philippines, a little bit on Thailand and Taiwan. And we also covers a lot of smart city applications from transportation, agriculture, health, entertainment, energy utility, government, and in fact, a lot of manufacturing. Again, thank you very much for your patience and participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho, for moderating the panel discussion. And our special thanks go to the panelists for their participation and their contribution to the discussion. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the morning session of the 2022 World Telecom Smart City Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we thank you very much for joining us this morning. This afternoon session will begin at 2 p.m. Enjoy your break, and we will see you again in the afternoon.